Welcome back to another TymBets poker vlog. I'm Tyler, and today we're going to go over a 1-2 session from the Club 52 poker room in Melbourne, Florida. This is a really fun one where we play really aggressive and get into some relatively big hands for the stakes. I hope you guys enjoy it, so let's get to it. So we showed up on a Friday afternoon, and it wasn't as busy as I'd hoped. They had a couple people on the board with interest in 2-5, but only 1-2 games were running at the time. I put my name on the list for the 2-5, grabbed 800 in chips, just in case they called the 2-5, and sat down at the 1-2 with $200, which was a max buy-in. The casino does have a 1-2 table stakes, which allows players to match the biggest stack on the table, but that table was full. The first hand we play, we look down at pocket eights in the small blind. A middle position player opens to $10 and we flat call. Heads up to a flop of king 7-3 with 2 clubs. Middle position C bets for $15 as he would with all of his range. We call hoping to catch an 8 or get to showdown as cheap as possible. The turn comes a jack of clubs. He checks, we check. River comes a 5 of clubs, putting 4 to a flush. He checks, and we check. He flips over king jack of spades for 2 pair, which beats our smaller 2 pair. It's possible we could have bluffed him on the river for about a pot-sized bet, because he seemed pretty uninterested. But this early in the session, you never know how sticky someone's going to get, and if you're just lighting money on fire. The next hand we're dealt jack 8 of clubs on the button, with the straddle on. Cutoff opens to $20, and we defend with our suited 3-gapper. Small blind and big blind both make the call. 4 ways to a flop of queen 4-6 with 2 spades. The big blind leads for $10, and the cutoff goes all in for $41. We snap fold, and the big blind calls. The turn comes a deuce of spades, and the river an offsuit 5. Big blind shows 8-9 of spades. Cutoff shows the ace-king of spades with a flush over flush. These really suck. I'm glad I did not hit that board in any way. A few hands later, we look down at 7-8 offsuit under the gun and decide to limp. The table's been very passive so far, and I'm beginning to learn the play styles of each of the players. I think there are many ways to be a successful poker player, and each way has its positives and negatives. My strategy typically involves a lot of the basics like ranges, position, and equity calculations. But what makes me the most profitable is playing the players, not the cards. Each session and table is treated like its own unique game. I rely on information that's collected, plus the advantages I'm given at the specific table, to try and beat my opponents as players in the game. Anyway, 3 players limp, and we go 4 ways to a flop of 7-8 king with 2 clubs. This is one of my favorite spots to be in, a multi-way pot flopping a strong hand. It's likely one of my opponents has a king, and I block all the 2-pair combinations. It's very unlikely that anyone has a set, for the same reason there is only one combination of pocket 8s and 7s, and no one raised pre-flop indicating they have pocket kings. It checks to the button, who throws out a bet of $8. Big blind calls, we call, and middle position calls. 4 ways to a turn, which comes the 4 of diamonds. This brings in a potential straight with the 5-6. We aren't too worried when the big blind checks, so we decide on a bet of $15 to get some more money in the pot and charge any draws that could have came in. Middle position makes a call, button folds, and big blind calls. 3 ways to a river, which comes a beautiful 7 of diamonds, giving us a full house. The big blind decides he hates money and leads for $30. We decide to go all in. Middle position folds, and big blind ends up making the call. I announce a full house, and he announces he has a straight. The dealer looks at his cards and says he doesn't have the straight. He takes another look and realizes he missed a straight. This is the moment that I realized this is going to be a fun session as we take down more than a full double up. The next hand we play, we're in the low jack and pick up the old cowboys, or as Greg calls them, the Brokeback Mountains. It folds to us and we open to $10. The cutoff and the big blind make the call. 3 ways to a flop of queen jack ace with 2 hearts. The big blind actually decides to go for the infamous donk of shame and leads for $10. We make the flat call because he could be doing this with weak aces that we might be able to get him off of later in the hand, or it could also mean that we need to catch a 10 or a king. The cutoff folds and we go heads up to the turn that's a brick, the 6 of diamonds. Our opponent leads again for $20 this time. Not liking the situation, we reluctantly make the call, seeing we still have outs with a 10 for the straight. The river comes, not a really good card for us, the king of diamonds. We improve to a set, but it gives any 10 the straight. The big blind fires a final bet of $30. I really don't like this situation. It looks like this is pure value sizing, seeing that it's not even half the pot, and the big blind could have all the 10s in his range. We reluctantly make the call, because for less than half pot, there's no way I can fold a set. Our opponent flips over king 9 for second pair. That's right, he donk led the flop with nothing more than a gutter ball and continued to fire out of position for 3 streets. A decent sized pot comes our way, and we're really starting to enjoy the 1-2 game here at Melbourne. The next hand, we're in the big blind and look down at a gorgeous premium hand, the cream of the crop, the old 7 deuce of diamonds. The player from earlier who thought he had a straight, when I hit the full house, opens the $9 from the small blind. I decided to take the aggressive line, seeing that we're out of position, and I want to isolate this player. We 3-bet to $30. Action folds around to the initial raiser, and he makes the call. Heads up to a flop of 7-9-8 rainbow. He checks, and we check our bottom pair. The turn comes a 3 of spades. He checks again, and this time we bet $30, hoping to weed out any draws. I start the table talk and ask if he's on the flush draw. I tell him it's not going to come, and then bam, the river comes the deuce of spades, improving us to 2 pair, but also bringing in the flush. He leads for $40, but I actually didn't think he was on a flush draw. If he went runner, then good job, but there's no way I'm folding, seeing how the hand was played. I make the call, and he shows ace-7 suited for 1 pair. We show the bad news and announce 2 pair. The gentleman is in complete disbelief that I 3-bet him with 7 deuce, and now for the rest of the night, he's nicknamed me 7 deuce. In the next hand we go over, we're dealt ace-queen suited in the cutoff. The low jack opens at $10, the high jack calls, and we raise to $25. It folds to the low jack, who makes a call, which gives the high jack a good price, so he comes along. The flop comes a smash-tastic one, ace-7-3 rainbow. The low jack checks, and what would an episode be without another donk of shame? The same player from the 7 deuce hand, donk leads the flop for $20. He doesn't have much behind, so looking to isolate and go for max value, I announce all in. Both players fold, and we show our ace. We probably could have flat called since we dominated the board to entice the low jack to call and then all in on the turn, but that might increase the chances of losing. In most cases, I'm not likely to get any more money from either player if they aren't holding an ace or if they take the lead on the turn. So I decided the more aggressive approach was probably the best at the time. The next hand, we get ace-4 of diamonds under the gun and decide to limp for $2. Under the gun, +1 flats. The low jack raises to 5. The button likes his hand even more and goes for the 3-bet of 15. It folds to the big blind on my right, and he makes the call. So I decide to make the call, and the original raiser makes the call. So now 4 ways in a bloated pot to a flop of ace-king-5 rainbow. Top pair with a weak kicker and so much action pre-flop, we decide to check after the big blind checks to us. It checks around, so we get to see a free turn card, which is the beautiful ace of clubs. This now improves us to 3 aces, and even though our kicker is weak, I think it's very likely we have the best hand. The big blind checks, and this time we decide to check to see if we can induce a bluff from one of the players on our left. Our evil plan is foiled when it checks around yet again. The river comes a brick, the 3 of spades, and the big blind checks. This time I can't let it check through again, so I decide to bet 45. It folds back to the big blind, which is the same player that's been calling me 7 deuce, and he makes the call. I flip it over, not feeling too confident in my kicker. He ends up mucking and saying that his kicker was better, but he didn't have an ace. More chips come our way as we continue to run this table. 2 hands go by and we're on the button with the OP straddle on for $5. I call it OP because it's crazy that some games allow the button to make the straddle. Middle position player who hasn't been playing many hands raises $20. Mr. 7 deuce on my right calls, and we decide to raise to 55 to hopefully isolate the middle position player. It folds back to the raiser, and he goes all in for 98. The player on my right calls for less, and we decide to gamble with them. We ask them if they want to sweat the hand, and the middle possession player says yeah, so I flip over my cards, and he shows pocket nines. Seeing that we're behind, I'm going to need your help. If Brad Owen has taught me anything, it's that if you want to run good, people have to like your videos. So go down and do your thing and smash that like button so we can catch up. All in 3 ways, and with your like powers combined, the run out comes ace, queen, 5, 6, with the climactic river of another ace, just to seal the deal with authority. Great job, everybody. We did it. Unfortunately, we were already shorthanded, and now with only 4 players left, our table ends up breaking.
Sorry, guys.
Look at what you did, man.
You did it.
It's all your fault.
I didn't do it.
The dealer offered to find us seats, but I decided to rack up and book the win for the night. We bought in for $200 and cashed out for $980, a total profit of $780 on the night, playing 1-2. All in all, it was a great session. I hope you guys enjoyed watching the smaller stakes session as much as I enjoyed playing it. I usually only use 1-2 or 1-3 as a warm-up, but I know a lot of viewers play at these stakes, so it's nice to bring you this type of content. As I keep saying, I still have a bunch of footage to grind through, so make sure to subscribe so you know when those are uploaded. So many wild sessions, I can't wait to share them with you. Okay guys, until next time, good luck on the felt, and I'll see you in the next episode.